was good. Yeah, the kids love the beach. I have this great video. Andrew actually took this great video of Anna just face planting into sand.
What?
Yeah, it was hilarious. There's sand all up in her mouth and stuff.
How'd she take it?
She was fine. She was just like, "What is this? It's weird." And then Andrew's mom was like wiping the sand out of her mouth with her shirt, and then she went
Did she
on.
did she have that face? She was just like, blah, blah.
Yeah, let me show you.
Oh shit! Dang! It looked like she tried to catch herself, but like there was like a little dip, and so like
Yeah,
her
there's
arms
like this.
didn't touch anything.
It's funny because they were actually there was actually a huge hole there, and they were like slowly filling it in throughout the day, and so this is it like filled in.
Oh,
But
okay.
they were like kind of walking in and out of it and jumping. Well, Julian was jumping in and out of it, but yeah, they had a blast. It was cold though, and so we didn't get to play in the water every day,
hmm
but we did something every day, and it was fun. They still liked it.
Yeah, Brenda and I are actually going to be going on a little vacation soon, so
Where
that's
to?
all. I was kind of curious about your camping experience because we're going to be doing a little bit of glamping ourselves.
Oh, nice. Yeah, ours
Um,
is kind of glamping because we had the RV, Andrew's parents' RV.
yeah, and for us, like we're not going to be really like out in the elements in a tent. Like there's like a little cabin thing, so we're
Nice.
actually going up to. It's like right
Ottawa.
along the border, Iowa. We're going to Washington, but it's like right on the
Oh,
border
dang.
of Oregon, Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so literally, if you go on the other side of this river, then you're in Oregon.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, actually, I messaged my friend who lives up there, and I was like, "Hey, if you're gonna be in town, we're gonna be in Washington." But it turns out he's closer to Seattle, which is like all the way on the other side
Yeah,
of the mountain. So
that makes
there's
sense.
there's no straight path through the mountain either. You have to go either all the way around the north end or all the way around the south end to get to us.
Wow.
So, but also he said he was going to be out of town at that time, so I
Oh,
was like, that's
that's
fine.
funny.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time I'll actually be on the other side of the mountain,
Yeah,
and
I
we can
wanna I
actually
wanna
hang out.
visit Seattle one of these days. I really want to visit Seattle, and Andrew really wants to visit New Orleans. And
Nice.
so one day when we can vacation again,
hmm
then that is, or we're willing to leave the kids with the grandparents or whatever. Those are the first two places we're going to go.
Oh, you know what? Something I'm also gonna need to take into account when we go up to Washington is that we're gonna need some warm clothes
Oh
because I think
yeah,
it's gonna be snowing up there.
that is for sure. I was
And I'm
thinking that too.
talking
It's gonna
I'm
be cold.
talking actual warm clothes, not California warm clothes.
Seriously, I'll keep
So I'm
that in
probably gonna have to
mind.
get something a little bit thicker. I'll have
Weather
to
that
layer up.
ignores your attempts at keeping warm.
I know. I'm gonna have to do like some sort of like thermal underneath, and then like a shirt, and
Yeah,
then a sweater, and then a jacket,
yeah.
just in case. I gotta be prepared.
So here's the big question: are you gonna take a long, long trip up and visit Forks?
Oh man, we looked at where Forks is. That's basically like borderline Canada. It's
Oh,
like
is
the
it?
the very northwest tip of Washington,
Oh my goodness.
and that's the complete opposite end of Washington. So
Yeah.
from where we're going,
So
so
not
probably
happening.
not. But
Most likely.
I I definitely want to go back and check out Seattle and all that as well. So if we're gonna go back, I'm thinking we can probably stop by Forks then.
Yeah.
All right, should we bite into this episode then?
I think so. I think so.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Afflixionados podcast, episode 8. My name is Eric, and the other voice occupying your head this time is my sister and co-host, Stephanie.
Sup?
Thanks for joining us today. This is a monthly podcast where we mainly talk about films that range from mind-blowing to mind-numbing. Occasionally, we may also cover TV shows or other forms of media. It goes without saying we will be getting into spoilers here, and there will only be the healthiest amount of expletives tossed in. Man, I feel like this is a lot more difficult to do early in the morning because we're used to doing it at night when I'm actually fully awake.
I know. I feel a little bit of that too. But I'm not 100% sure if it's just because it's early morning or if it's being coupled with the fact that I'm sick.
Maybe.
So I'm just like, all right,
I'm
let's
just
see
feeding
how
off of
this
your
goes.
energy right now.
You're just like, and this is.
I know. I'm just like I feel like I'm like really sluggish. We might not be fully ready, but the listeners are ready. So in today's episode, we'll be covering Donnie Darko,
A classic.
cult classic. This episode is it's pretty interesting because I feel like this is something that I'm less knowledgeable about. This might actually be more in your realm here, so you're probably gonna have to do most of the heavy lifting. But
Oh goodness.
that doesn't necessarily mean I won't have anything to say.
Of
So I
course.
guess I'll. Well, you know what? Let's start off with the synopsis. Incessant sleepwalking, family drama, and visions of a menacing 6 foot tall, doomsday prophesying anthropomorphic rabbit plague a troubled teenager, Donnie Darko, in this cult classic. That was a hell of a
That's
mouthful,
right.
wasn't
I know.
it?
I
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's interesting because well, I saw this movie for the first time in high school. I want to say around 2003-ish. It was right before the director's cut came out, and when the director's cut came out, I was thrilled. I didn't end up liking it, but I was pretty excited. But I didn't actually realize that this movie came out a couple months after 9/11, and I could totally see how that would be completely problematic, considering that the plot centers around and was actually written around the idea of a jet engine crashing through someone's roof out of nowhere.
How crazy is that, right?
Hmm.
And that ended up actually really affecting the performance of the movie. The
Yeah.
development of the movie began in late 1997 by director Richard Kelly. And this movie, when it actually came out, 2001, so it's a few
Yeah.
years before. You know,
Yeah, he said
they're
he
developing the
came up with
idea.
the idea. He kind of built the story around it, but when he actually wrote it, he said it took him 28 days to write the script, which is the time that it was supposed to take the world to end in the movie. So
That's cool. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, 28 days. Yeah, I forgot what the full time was. Was it like 28 days, 6 hours, 12 minutes, something like that?
yeah, something like that, 42 seconds or something like that.
Very specific, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's pretty interesting too is everything was shot in California. It was like shot all around various parts of California, Southern California, including LA, Long Beach, and Santa Monica.
So it
And
takes place in
actually,
Virginia.
this morning, yeah. So the movie's actually supposed to be in Middlesex, Virginia, but I guess they felt that in the areas that they shot it, it somewhat resembled Virginia.
Well,
I
it's
wouldn't
funny
know.
because it was supposed to be in a nice suburb and everything, and it's supposed to, show the stupid life of suburbanites and stuff. But yeah, they actually filmed in a really nice, I guess, suburban neighborhood in California
Hmm.
called like Virginia Country Club or something like that. So,
Oh, dang. So yeah, of course. You know, if it says Virginia on the title, then it must be accurate.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I guess Richard Kelly grew up in a suburban Virginia neighborhood, or at least a suburban neighborhood, out east or whatever. And
Hmm.
he thought that that neighborhood in California resembled, and I guess it's supposed to resemble Virginia. So,
Houses out there, just normal houses.
the suburban houses.
Interesting. Yeah, I forget who was telling me. I think it was my friend Gillis actually. So he grew up in Georgia, and he was saying that those like big colonial houses are
Yeah.
not uncommon over there, and they're a lot more affordable. So it's like you have like just
Oh, interesting.
like normal like middle class families occupying
Living
these
in these
houses,
huge houses.
and it's like acres. You know, it's like normal to just have a couple acres of land,
That's so
and you
cool.
got yeah you have like these huge pillars in the front yard, or in the front of the house, and then you got like of course like double doors for the main
Uh-huh.
entrance, and you got like multiple main entrances, I guess, so that
And
way you could
a big
entertain.
porch that wraps
Hmm.
around the whole house.
Exactly, yeah. Them filming the entire movie in California, I was actually looking it up, and the area is super nice. Like the Donnie Darko house is actually in Long Beach,
Oh, that's funny.
and yeah, by our standards, that's a straight up mini mansion.
Yeah.
Like that would be super expensive. And
Yeah,
actually,
multi-million dollar status.
yeah. And while I was looking up this morning on Google Maps, I was just kind of taking a look around what the rest of the houses look like. So on one side of the street, it's like all mini mansions, and then on the other side, it's just normal one-story houses.
That must be super weird for the neighbors.
But you know what? That Darko house, whoever owned it, because I guess in January 2021 when they rolled through, it was actually up for sale. I don't know if it still is, but
Wow,
the owners at the time, it seemed like they took good care of it because it looks exactly like it does in the movie.
nice.
Still white, looks like a little mini White House.
Yeah, I wonder if they feel pressure to keep it up because of the movie.
Yeah, can you imagine living in that house? I feel like it'd be cool on one hand, but on the other, I don't want a bunch of randos just
Yeah,
showing up
exactly.
and taking photos in my front yard.
If you do allow people to come in at any time, then they would be expecting it to look like the movie, and if you decorated it differently, they'd be a little disappointed. And yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, same here. These famous people, like there's a whole history with this house. So you got like all these famous people that actually filmed in and around this house, but then it's like the house itself is almost a character because it's part of the movie, like
Oh yeah,
you have the whole like destruction and them lifting the jet engine out of the house and all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's a character in the movie in and of itself.
that's interesting. I never thought about that. So interesting thing to note about the cast. I think because I was reading this article, this interview with Richard Kelly,
Hmm.
and he was talking about how he was fresh out of college doing this movie that was taken on by Drew Barrymore's production company, I guess.
Yeah, Flower
And
Films.
yeah, and he was able to get all these great actors with rich histories in his movie. I mean, including Donnie and his sister Elizabeth, which was Jake Gyllenhaal and Maggie Gyllenhaal,
Right.
and they were relatively unknown at the time, but they grew up in the film industry because both of their parents were in the film industry, were and or are, I guess, if they still are.
I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah, so they grew up in the film industry, even if they, at the time of filming, they were still relatively unknown in the public's eyes, I guess.
Sure.
And so Richard Kelly was saying that he discovered that as long as he gave them enough direction to get a feel for their character, then they just kind of did their thing, and he was more learning from them than anything.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah,
He's like not even really directing them. He's just like, yeah, you guys tell me how to direct.
almost. He was still directing, but just enough. And then it was his first gig after college and stuff, so
How
he
awesome is
was
that?
he
And
was
it's
learning a lot. I know it's really cool.
and by normal standards, a budget of 4.5 mil, that's like nothing, right, for feature films. But for your
Mhm.
first movie, that's a hell of a budget. Holy shit!
Yeah.
And I do feel like you can kind of see how the inexperience of Richard Kelly kind of is prominent throughout the film, but I don't think it
Yeah.
it really like ruins the film for me. It was just a couple things that I noticed throughout. But yeah,
Yeah.
that is pretty interesting that after Drew Barrymore was cast, like her production company decided to just fund the entire film.
It was pretty cool. And I wonder if it, if it came out at a different time, or maybe if 9/11 had never happened, if it would have been a little bit more successful, you know what I mean?
It definitely would have been a lot more successful, but I'm not sure how successful necessarily. Like it probably would have done at least, I would assume
Better.
it's budget bag 4.5 mil.
Yeah.
You almost get that by
Which it
default.
eventually did. It eventually
Yeah,
did. But
after several
it took a while.
re-releases and like
Yeah.
DVD sales and stuff like that, or I guess it would have been VHS back in the day. I don't know, maybe DVD.
No, it was DVD. It was DVD.
Wasn't that old. Donnie Darko's theatrically released from October 26, 2001, and left theaters April 11th, 2002, ending with a total gross of just $517,375.
Wow. Well, part of it also is because they didn't market it at all because of 9/11.
Exactly, yeah. It was pretty ballsy, like how you're saying. Like, it was just 6 weeks after 9/11, so it was pretty ballsy of them to still go ahead with the release instead of just holding on to it for a while. They're like,
Yeah.
it'll probably be fine.
It doesn't have that much plane crash in it.
I mean, one of the main plot elements is straight up like an airplane causing destruction. So,
Yeah, not exactly great for that time.
but how you're saying, yeah, after reissues, and it eventually went on to gross 7.6 mil worldwide, and attracted
Which
a
is nice.
devoted fan base. And I mean, everyone pretty much knows it for a cult classic now. But it's pretty interesting that it actually survived that.
Also, a sequel. What was it? 10 years later or something? It was like 2013 or something like that.
Oh, S. Darko.
Yeah, about his little sister, and it's actually starring the same girl who played his little sister in Donnie Darko. I wasn't a huge fan. I saw it, and I wasn't a huge fan.
You
It's
saw
like
it
they
as
try.
a huge fan of Donnie Darko.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it's like they tried to take, the sci-fi elements in Donnie Darko and expand on it, but they kind of went. It's like they were trying too hard, I guess, in
Really?
the way it seemed to me because you've never seen it, right? Because you had never
I
seen
never
Donnie
saw it.
Darko.
Mm,
The time travel thing happens in Donnie Darko one time, and in S Darko, it's like they keep trying to use it to keep this crazy convoluted story going. And I think time travel happens like three times in that movie, and the plot is nuts and really confusing and hard to follow. And there's a lot going on, and people are dying left and right, and yeah, it's just kind of weird,
Spoiler alerts for S. Darko.
right? Well, spoilers. That's what this is about.
That's kind of the whole challenge to time travel movies, or I guess just movies in general that involve like time and all that. It is difficult to make a coherent story and try to keep that going.
With time travel, yeah, I agree. But anyway, back to the first one. So yeah, we have Jake Gyllenhaal, we have Maggie Gyllenhaal.
And you were saying they were relatively unknown,
At the time,
but
yeah.
I feel like Jake actually had like some early success, right? Like, didn't he do a couple movies before Donnie?
I think so. I think he did, one or two, but he wasn't huge yet, you know what I mean? He was just kind of just coming into the
True.
scene. And then Maggie was still,
He was just a young buck.
yeah, exactly. And Maggie was still pretty. I don't think she had dual, not that I remember. That was the first thing I'd ever seen her in,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I think that's probably the earliest performance that I've seen from Maggie as well. But I thought that was pretty cool that Maggie Gyllenhaal plays Elizabeth Darko, his sister in the film, and
In real
she's actually
life.
his sister in real life. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was just like a typical sibling,
Big
right? Was
sister,
she the
yeah.
older sister?
Yeah, she
Yeah,
was big
big
sister.
sister. That's right. It's funny because they kind of play a similar dynamic to us because you're my older sister, so
Oh.
it's like it's like you start off like butting heads, and then eventually you guys become like best friends. What'd you think of Donnie's relationship with Elizabeth? Did you feel like that was pretty realistic?
With Elizabeth,
It's like the
yeah.
typical like butting of heads.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to compare it to how we were back then. Yeah, it seems, I feel like, siblings get on each other's nerves at some point, no matter what, even if they do get along well. But it seemed like they got along well.
Right.
They got along well
And
in general, otherwise.
and they were pretty similar in age, right? Like I would say maybe 1 or 2 years apart.
Yeah, because she had just gotten into Harvard before they threw their party, and so that means she was a senior. And Donnie was also in high school, and so I mean I don't think he was a freshman, so I would say at most 2 years apart.
Did you have any dislike for Elizabeth? Like, did you think she was kind of annoying or anything
No,
like that,
I
or kind
didn't.
of a bitch?
No, I didn't feel like that about her. You know who was annoying though? That stupid bitch Kitty.
Who's that one, Kitty?
That one
Is that
mom,
the
the
old
gym
teacher?
teacher. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was fucking annoying. But I think she was supposed to be.
Oh yeah, she was definitely supposed to be, but
She was like overly religious, and she was like just trying to like cram her beliefs down
yeah, I think
everyone's
she was,
throat.
yeah, exactly representing that 80s, religious suburbanite situation. She's kind of manipulative, nosy.
I also didn't think that Elizabeth was that annoying either, but I thought it was kind of interesting because when I was talking to Michael about Donnie Darko the other day,
Hmm.
he kind of remembers Elizabeth as being bitchy. He was like, "Oh yeah, the bitchy older sister." And then when I was watching it, I was like,
You're
I
like, I
didn't
don't
think
get
she was
that.
that bitchy at all. Yeah,
I don't know.
personally.
Maybe I didn't think she was bitchy because older sisters are never bitchy.
Right? Yeah, because I feel like when we butted heads, it was more when we were younger,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
more like elementary school time, and
Uh
then
huh.
as we got older, then we're able to bond more.
Yeah, I feel like around the time that we became teenagers, somehow we became best friends.
Yeah. And I felt like she was only really bitchy to Donnie because he kind of caused it. Like he would just like
Yeah.
say and do things that annoyed everyone, like the entire family.
Oh yeah,
And
he was pretty annoying. He did a good job at being the, the angsty teenager.
oh, definitely. Actually felt like Donnie was super annoying early on in the film. I was like,
Yeah,
he's like this
I agree.
quintessential spoiled, sheltered, hormonal,
Uh-huh.
intellectual rich kid, you know?
Yeah.
He always thinks he like knows more than like everyone else, and he always just has like something sarcastic to say, and he's just like
Apparently they call
he's
that main character syndrome nowadays, where
oh
like
really?
yeah, where like the main character is always a little bit more heightened and smarter and in the know than everybody else in the movie. And that's exact Donnie fits that perfectly, you know?
I get the sense that he was intelligent for sure,
Mhm.
but I felt like he was smarter than everyone in the room.
Yeah.
The way that he was speaking to that motivational speaker guy, like he was just trying to like basically like undermine him, call him out, you know, in public and embarrass him,
Yeah, it's like he always had to, give in to his.
stir the pot.
Oh yeah, he always had to stir the pot. He always had to give in to those impulses, the chaotic impulses, you know.
Hmm.
Always had to put in his 2 cents when they contradicted what everybody else thought.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's pretty funny too because they kind of look similar, but not really. So it's like, imagine if they just like chose some like rando person to play a
I
sister.
know.
And I hate when that happens when they miscast a sibling. You're like, they don't look like they could be related at all.
That actually reminds me of oh man, you remember my friend David Miller when he was like 10 or 11, he was in a music video, but it just flashes on him for a quick second, but it's supposed to be him and his quote unquote parents. Like
Okay.
it's supposed to be like a flash of a family, and then it moves on. The people that they had as his quote unquote parents look nothing like him.
Oh,
It's
that was funny.
and I was like, and he's the one who had to tell me like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be a family,
And you're like, in what world are you
right?
guys supposed to be a family? We definitely can't go without mentioning Patrick Swayze being in the film because holy shit, you know, like such a big name being in this film
Big
and playing such
name,
a small role too, like small speaking role.
yeah, small speaking role, but I don't want to say significant character per se, but his character has a huge impact. His character
Yeah.
has a big impact, definitely.
And Patrick Swayze plays Jim Cunningham, a successful self-help slash motivational speaker.
Who apparently lives in the area.
And then holy shit, like when I was watching this movie, I'm like, this person's in that movie? That person's in that movie?
Yep.
So we got Seth motherfucking Rogen
I know.
as Ricky Danforth, just a hooligan student, you know, and I think this might have been like
He was like
his
the main bully's, little crony or whatever. And so he wasn't
right.
even like the main bully or anything like that. He was just kind of there. And
He was just like, yeah, some
every time he was there, I'm
sidekick.
like, hey, look, it's Seth Rogen. He had a couple lines or whatever, but that was pretty much it, you know?
And this was just his, yeah, like I think first actual movie role. So that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. He pretty much looks exactly like how he does in Freaks and Geeks. I don't know if you've ever seen that,
I have not.
but pretty much exactly like they just plucked him fresh out of Freaks and Geeks. And then of course Drew Barrymore as Karen Pomeroy, one of the English teachers at the school.
Yep.
And then I was also surprised to see Jenna Malone in this movie.
Yeah, I forgot she was in it for a while.
She's Gretchen Ross, a new student, a love interest to Donnie, and also reveals that she underwent an identity change in the film, right?
Yeah, because they're trying to get away from her abusive stepdad. So they moved there to escape, and they changed their identities.
Possibly witness protection. I don't know. I don't know
Maybe.
if that was made clear in the film.
No, it wasn't.
After seeing like quite a few well-known actors, I'm like, holy shit! I had no idea any of them were in this film.
Yeah,
It's pretty
familiar
cool to see, though.
faces. Yeah, it's yeah. I was mentioning, I was like, man, this is a pretty star-studded cast here. Even though some of them weren't exactly stars at that time.
It is a shame that they couldn't find a better-looking main character, though, huh? Like I was joking with you earlier.
Yeah, right. They picked the best one.
Jake's just so painful to look at.
So needless to say, he was my high school crush.
What was he in before? So October Sky, wasn't that his first film
Oh,
that he
was
did?
it?
Or
Yeah, I
first
guess that
major
makes
film?
sense. That was a huge film.
And I think he even did Bubble Boy before this, both of which were the movies I saw him in before I even saw Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
So my introduction to Jake Gyllenhaal was October Sky and Bubble Boy. Boba Boy, one of which is, I wouldn't say it really aged too well.
I'm sure it didn't. I want to go
That
back
was
and see
kind
if
of a
that one
product
holds
of its
up.
time. I do want to ask you, though,
Uh-huh.
being a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal, what was your favorite role?
Um, Man, that's a good question. I haven't actually seen a lot of his more recent stuff, but I happen to be looking
Would you probably say
at.
Donnie?
No, I actually wouldn't. I mean, he did a great
Hmm.
job in that movie, but it wasn't my favorite. Probably Brokeback Mountain. Just kidding. Um,
I mean, if that was your favorite,
he
then
did do a great job in that, but
yeah.
that wasn't
I
my
think a lot
favorite
of
either.
people shit on that movie without actually having seen it.
Oh yeah, I actually read the short story and saw the movie, and yeah, people have a lot of
A lot of opinions
assumptions.
about
Yeah, a
it.
lot of opinions, a lot of assumptions.
I actually haven't seen it
Rigidity.
myself, but I'm also not one to like shit on it and say like, "Oh, that movie's so stupid," this and that.
Yeah, they did a great job in it, both of them. Was it him and Heath Ledger, right?
Heath, yeah.
But I totally got this from Dad. I have a soft spot for natural disaster movies. I love The Day After
Oh,
Tomorrow. I
nice,
love that
nice.
movie. I love that movie.
I would say for my favorite role, I loved Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is just that was an awesome performance by him. He was such a
I've
creeper
never
in
seen
that
it.
movie.
I've never seen it, but
Highly
I wanted
recommended.
to. Actually, yeah, when I was looking through his filmography and I passed it, I was like, oh, I still need to see that one.
It was interesting subject matter in Nightcrawler because it's like how far are people willing to go for money, and they're willing to just do it at the expense of other people's tragedies.
Of course.
Also, another movie that I thought he did great in was End of Watch, which is a pretty gritty movie itself. Have you seen
Also,
that
not
one,
no,
End
I
of
have not
Watch?
seen it.
Yeah, he's like a police officer, and he's really dedicated to just doing his job and protecting the people. And he kind of uncovers something in the film, and yeah, it
Oh,
gets pretty deep. You know how earlier you were mentioning you weren't like a huge fan of the director's cut. Can you
yes.
kind of go a little bit more into that? Like, what are the main differences of the theatrical and the directors?
Honestly, I can't actually remember if there were added scenes or not because the whole thing is just kind of ruined for me by the movie's interrupted every so often by just a screen of text that you're supposed to stop and read.
What?
Yeah. And so I feel like it just really takes you out of the moment, it takes you out of the mood. I don't know if his intention was probably that it would add something to the film,
Like you would get a
give
little
you
bit
I don't know,
more
give you more
information.
information, I guess. But to me, it just took me out every time.
So it's kind of like how when it shows the timer and it says like this date and like this much time left, but it's like way more text than that.
Oh yeah, it's like a whole paragraph you're supposed to read, and
What the hell?
it would stop on that for long enough for you to read it, and so it was a while, like a minute or something, and
Right.
I'm over here like, okay, can we just get back to the movie?
And it does that several times throughout the movie.
Yeah, it does it several times throughout the movie, and yeah, I feel like people were into the director's cut, but not me.
You know what my theory is on that? I feel like people probably only liked it because you got a little bit more out of each scene, like more backstory or whatever. But in terms of like the fluidity of the movie, it seems like it totally just ruined it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe I'll have to revisit it. I deliberately did not want to watch that version.
Okay, so what version did you watch?
I watched the regular non-director's cut version, the theatrical release version, I guess.
Did you do what I did? I just watched it for free on the IMDb
I sure did.
TV. Nice. And did you also get like 100 commercials like I did?
I don't think it was as bad as you described for me. I watched it on my TV. They were in the worst place though. It was just like they were evenly spaced throughout the movie or something like that. And so it would just be like
Hmm.
mid sentence, it would cut off and go to a commercial, you know?
Yeah, so my experience, it was the IMDb TV app via Amazon Prime Video,
Oh wow.
and I definitely would not recommend that version because, like how you're saying, it's like in the middle of a scene, like a really tense or a
Yeah.
scene where they're kind of trying to set up something very important in the plot, right? And then it cuts you off for like 3-4 minutes of just full length commercials, like full length ads,
Yeah.
and I'm just sitting here
But
like,
at least there, yeah, even if there's commercials, they're at least appropriately placed in whatever you're watching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in
Like in
between
between
like
scenes
a
and stuff.
lull or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when Donnie is talking to his science teacher about time travel,
Hmm.
and then at some point he's like, I can't continue this conversation, and Donnie's like, why? And then he says, I cut to commercial, and then it comes
The world
back,
will never know.
and it comes back, could lose my job,
Oh my god.
like literally mid
Wow.
sentence.
At the very least, they could at least like rewind it a little bit so that way you get the full conversation.
Seriously, I
Yeah, I
think,
mean, I guess you can't complain because it's free
yeah.
for us,
Hmm.
but yeah,
And really, I could have watched it on DVD if I wanted to, but I only have the director's cut. Well, one thing I wanted to actually talk about is I was just kind of reading up on it a little bit, seeing what other people were saying, seeing if people thought it held up and stuff like that. And one thing that people kept saying is that Frank sends Donnie around doing a bunch of stuff to prevent an apocalypse. And I feel
was
like
he though?
I don't think so because I feel like Frank was sitting around doing some stuff that impacted his community and helped his community in ways, or at least helped himself. I feel,
Right.
I don't exactly know why he broke the water main in the school, but it kind of seems like it was just to get an opportunity to talk to Gretchen. It seemed like because he
Maybe.
wouldn't have been there to walk her home if the school wasn't canceled that day.
And that's where I think the whole like muddiness comes into play when it comes
The
to
plot,
movies that involve time travel or like manipulating time, is that then these moments that you're creating in the film, like they have to be significant, they have to be for a reason.
yeah.
And so I figure maybe they were trying to say Gretchen was vital, because
Hmm.
later on she does play a role. So
Yeah.
what he needed to do was actually interact with her and get close to her. Otherwise, if he didn't do that, then maybe they would have never met. He would have never had either the courage to go talk to her, or maybe he just didn't have the interest to go talk to her. I don't know.
I feel like
So
it
maybe it
was
was just kind of a way of like forcing them. It's like, all right, well, since you guys aren't going to do it organically, I guess I
exactly,
gotta take it in my own hands.
exactly.
I gotta
So,
take it in my own paws.
but the way I always took it, even since high school, the way I always took it was that when Frank said that in 28 days and all the rest of the time, the world is going to end. I took it as the world's going to end for Donnie, not the whole world. Like I didn't feel like there was a looming apocalypse coming and he was saving the world from it somehow. I feel like it was just for him.
Going back and thinking about it, I feel like there were a lot of moments in the film that I was kind of confused. Even like the opening scene when he like wakes up in the middle of like some mountain
Uh
trail
huh.
in his PJs, and he seems confused. Of course I'm going to be confused because I'm going in and I don't know what the hell's going on. So I'm like, okay, I'm just letting the scene play out. He just like looks off into the distance, smiles for whatever reason, and then just starts like riding miles. It seems like he's like riding down this mountain for like 15 miles and just rides all the way home.
Yeah. Well, actually,
He must be in good shape.
I feel like well, I'm sure he biked everywhere, so he's probably just used to it. I feel like that was just setting up his sleepwalking problem that he already had.
But what did that smile mean?
I don't know. He was I kind of just took it as, oh, he's just like, oh, this again.
Interesting. Like he was almost amused by his sleepwalking because it seemed
Yeah.
like he was kind of annoyed by it. Like because he never knew where he was going to wake up.
I imagine that's how it'd be. But I mean, even his whole family knew, like they had written on the whiteboard when he got home on the fridge, "Where's
Where's
Donnie?"
Donnie?
And he comes in, and nobody's surprised. Everyone's just like, "Oh, there you are," kind of thing. Where were you? There you are.
How are they not concerned that he was just gone? He's like just out sleepwalking somewhere.
I
They're not
know.
like he's gonna get himself killed. He's gonna like ride off the side of this mountain.
I guess that because I totally felt that too, particularly when the jet engine crashed through his room, and everyone was just standing out in the front yard, and then when he finally shows up, they're just like, "Oh, okay, good, there you are," kind of thing. Like nobody was really
Hmm.
like, they're just like, "Oh my gosh, the jet engine crashed through your room," and kind of laughing about it and stuff.
Laughing about it.
I would have been freaking out. Like as a parent, I would have been like, "Where's my son? We need to find him now. We're not just gonna
Hmm.
stand around waiting. Search through the rubble, make sure his body isn't there, and then try and figure out where the heck he is. And I need to locate my son, kind of thing."
Yeah,
But they were
that's what
not.
any normal person would do.
Well, I'm wondering if it had something because I know obviously growing up in the 90s and stuff, it was a totally different time. Like we would just leave and go hang out with our friends all day and our parents wouldn't even know where we were, but they didn't really care. They would just trust that we'd be home for dinner.
Yeah.
And so this was even earlier than that in 88. And so I'm wondering if maybe it was just a little bit safer on top of them already being used to this pattern from him. And so they just
I wonder
weren't
if
all
that
that,
family also just left their front door open.
probably,
Just like, yeah, no one's going to walk
and
in.
especially it
Why
being
would they?
a nice suburban neighborhood where everybody knew each other. He gets
Mm.
woken up on the golf course and everyone's just like, oh, it's Donnie Darko.
You know, it's another thing, too. I almost thought that he would start sleepwalking because of the whole, like, he was, like, chosen to save the world or whatever, like, prevent the apocalypse. But it seems like he's been doing that for like most of his life, or
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
like a good chunk of his life, and then Frank starts showing up later. Like he almost like takes advantage of his sleepwalking
Hmm.
to like communicate with him or like manipulate him somehow.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's another question, is all this really happening, or is it just part of Donnie's schizophrenia, you know?
Do you think that's what it was? Do you think it wasn't like someone reaching out to him from the future? It was just kind of like him warning himself. Like, do you think he had some sort of like precognition or like some sort of like premonition subconsciously?
Yeah, that's actually my question, which I don't really have an answer to. I mean, I'm not saying that the time travel thing didn't happen or anything like that, because I feel like that, it did. But I wonder if, in the part where he can start seeing people's paths coming out of their chest and stuff like that, I was thinking like, is that a product of his condition, or his? I was thinking maybe it's just like something, his awareness becomes heightened because he's close to the end of his world, close to death, and so maybe he's seeing
Hmm.
things that normal people can't see.
Like his abilities are now being drawn out of him.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
I don't know. I had a few theories like that as I was watching it, and since it wasn't my first, definitely not my first time watching it, I guess I was able to
Different take on it.
yeah, think a little bit deeper on some of these things.
Yeah, that's what I like about going back and watching movies that we've seen before is like you get to, instead of just absorbing it all in one go, it's like you already know what's happening, so you can kind of look for other clues or signs or something, some information in the background, or at least think a little bit deeper on each scene.
Exactly. Was this your first time seeing it?
This was my first time. So I've
Was
I've
it
seen
really?
seen it all the way through. I've seen
Oh,
chunks
okay.
of it, but I've never ever seen it all the way through from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen the end, luckily. So I didn't
Okay.
ruin it for myself. But I would,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd see like just chunks in the middle, and I did already know about the jet engine thing falling into
Yeah.
the house and like how it would have killed him if he was there, this and that kind of supposedly like started a chain of events.
So what did you think about it?
I definitely think that it was a solid film, and it was an interesting subject matter.
Hmm.
But I did feel like some points in the movie I was a little iffy about. I was like, okay, like for me there were a couple like what the fuck moments, which I think I'll get to at some point. Even just like I was watching it and taking it at, I don't know, I
Face
guess like
value.
the face value, but almost I don't want to exactly say face value because I am kind of studying the scenes as well. I'm not just like,
Taking it in for the first time kind of thing.
yeah, for the first time and then just going off of that. Like I did look up, like the background of the movie and all that stuff, and of course I didn't read the entire storyline, but I went in knowing that it was a cult classic, so I almost felt like my expectations were a little bit heightened. I was
Hmm.
actually talking to Michael about that the other day. I was like, I don't know if that may have hurt the movie in my opinion, but I definitely felt like it kind of affected in some way where if I had seen it back then where no one knew about the movie, no one saw
Yeah,
the
there was no
movie.
expectation. I feel like, yeah, any sort of heightened expectation will dull the experience a little bit.
Unfortunately, that's just kind of the nature of it. Okay, this movie definitely resonated with people in some way, so I kind of had that in the back of my mind as I was watching it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can definitely see where this movie resonated with a lot of people. Like I was saying, it was an interesting subject matter, and it
It
was some
is.
some trippy events. And you got Frank, who's like iconic, just that look, that like
The bunny suit and
creepy ass
stuff.
bunny
Yeah.
suit. Yeah, I was a little disappointed by like the voice though. I'm like, what the fuck is this lame ass voice that they have for Frank? I'm like, he has a cool look, and it's like a creepy. presence that Frank has, but then when he's talking to him, it just sounds like some like normal teenager that they just kind of edited slightly.
Yeah, they. I mean, you eventually find out that Frank is his older sister's boyfriend, and it's just him and his buddy,
I
driving
went
drunk
in
or whatever.
thinking that Frank was never going to be revealed, so it was
Hmm.
that also was a little like, oh, okay, it's just like some like lame teenager dude. Okay, so
That Donnie
oh no, that was a
killed.
little weird. Killed, yeah.
I think that's why he's there, because he's connected to Donnie through that.
Also, another thing I noticed was like, what the hell was up with the font that they used? Like when you have the title
Yeah,
card and like when it shows the dates, I'm like, is this like some like 2000s Arabian Nights TV film
that's
font?
exactly what I thought. I thought it
Like,
looked
what the
like an
fuck is
Arabian
that?
Nights inspired font.
Yeah, I don't know why I noticed little details like that, but I'm like, yeah, that font kind of bugged me.
But I think the soundtrack was good.
Yeah, the soundtrack was good. I didn't have any issues with the soundtrack. One of the things that the little details also bugged me too was it seemed like everyone seemed to refer to Donnie as like his full name. They're like, "Oh, this is Donnie Darko. Hey, yeah, Donnie Darko, come here, Donnie Darko." And I'm like, does no one just say Donnie? You know,
But it
or like, "Oh, Mr.
flows.
Darko, come here, Donnie Darko." Yeah, I mean, yeah, it rolls off the tongue, but even with Donnie's siblings, no one ever calls Elizabeth Liz. No one ever calls Samantha Sam. They always
That's
just
true.
kind of refer to them by their full names. And I'm
Well,
like,
Donnie
in your
doesn't get
normal.
his full name. His name is actually Donald.
Yeah, Donald. Yeah. Why does Donnie not refer to his siblings by like a nickname? I almost feel like that would never happen for any normal sibling relationship. You know, like for me, calling you Stephanie is weird.
Right. Yeah, I feel like he would probably call her Liz or something.
Right. Yeah.
Lizzie.
So weird. Yeah. I just thought little things like that, like, I don't know, maybe the dialogue could have been tightened up a little bit.
Hmm.
But like how we're saying, this was the director's first feature film, Richard
Yeah.
Kelly.
He
So
wrote it in 28 days.
yeah. Oh, another thing that I thought was kind of weird too, because for us, it seemed like the Darkos were a pretty wealthy family. I don't know if they were necessarily like rich, but
They were at least,
it seemed like they were pretty
solid
well
middle
off.
class, like higher middle class.
I would definitely say upper middle class with a house like that.
Yeah.
And
So apparently they're not
you
that
know,
expensive in Virginia.
and like everyone around them, it seemed like they were all wealthy. Like all the people that they kind of like the parents kind of hung out with or associate with
Hmm.
were pretty wealthy. So I wonder if maybe the Darkles could have been looked down on because they were like barely in
I
that
could see
class.
that,
Like
yeah.
you got like they were considered like the poor people of like the rich community or something.
Yeah, and then obviously everybody knew that Donnie had some sort of issues. Whether they knew what those issues were or not, everybody knew that Donnie had some sort of issues. And so they're probably kind of looked down on for that too, because,
Yeah,
mental health is often stigmatized today, even, you know. And so back then it was probably, oh, he's different.
yeah. He wasn't he taking medication and all that, and he was like going to therapy.
Yeah.
So he was taking the proper steps, like he was actually trying to address it, or like his parents were trying to address it. I don't know if that
Yeah.
was against his will
Though
or whatever.
I did think his therapist was full of shit. She seemed like
She didn't know what she was doing.
I feel like she seemed like she didn't know what she was doing, even though I mean sometimes she was on the right path or on the right track or whatever. But then
Hmm.
sometimes I can't remember just off the top of my head anything specific, but a lot of times I just felt like she was just talking out of her ass to sound smart, and she really didn't know. I feel like she really didn't know what was going on with Donnie really, and that hurt his progress.
Yeah, I definitely felt like he did need some help, and he was trying to do the right thing by going to therapy, but sometimes you got to shop around for therapists. Like you're not going to just
Oh
like
yeah,
find, like any therapist is not going to be the perfect one for every situation or every person. Like you have to find someone that works the best for you. And I felt
exactly,
like
and
maybe back then those resources weren't as widely available because
they
I felt
definitely
like
weren't.
back
Yeah.
back then mental health just wasn't people kind of looked down upon it. It was stigmatized, like how you're
Exactly.
saying.
And I feel like, if you were going to a therapist, only like the quote unquote worst cases were going to a therapist. And so Donnie was up there with, you
Hmm.
know, the quote unquote worst cases. And so, because like just, everyday people with everyday problems weren't going to therapists back then,
Yeah, that was something that
unlike
I felt
today.
like I could sympathize with Donnie because in my high school days, I definitely went through some shit. Like I
I
had a
remember.
lot of mental health issues as well,
Yeah,
and
you could have used a therapist back then.
I feel like even to this day, it's like like certain things that I struggle with, like depression and all that stuff. Like
Hmm.
in high school, that was the main factor of why I didn't finish. Like I straight up dropped out of high school because I had like major depression, social anxiety, and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty bad. Like I don't know if you wanted to like share anything like your experiences or anything like that, but I felt like as a guy, and especially like in high school and all that stuff, like you're really self-conscious about a lot of things, and that was a taboo subject. Like you don't want to
That's true.
admit
Yeah, I feel
that you had
like
any mental health issues.
yeah, because I also struggled with depression in high school, all the way up to having suicidal thoughts, which is what landed me in therapy. Briefly, I went to a therapist, I think, for, I want to say, like, it wasn't even that long. It was like 2 or 3 times, to be honest. And then my therapist moving to a different facility or something like that, and so switched me over to another therapist, and I didn't like that, so I just never went back.
Oh, I see. Did you ever
Um,
feel uncomfortable about talking about your issues? Because for me, I was so self-conscious and so antisocial that I
yeah, you wouldn't have wanted to talk
I,
about
I
it.
wouldn't have wanted to talk to anyone, and it would have definitely helped me too. Probably be comfortable talking about it
I think that's the thing that you were saying, that you were, you're a guy and this and that, and I feel like
and to admit
guys,
stuff like that. Like it.
yeah, guys are raised to, not show their emotions, to be a man, to bottle all, all that toxic masculinity stuff. And
Mhm.
so I feel like it's becoming more frequent now. Therapy is becoming normalized, which is nice, a little bit more. But definitely back then, guys weren't supposed to talk about their feelings. They weren't supposed to talk about their issues or their emotions. And so I feel like a lot less guys were probably going to therapy than girls.
And do you feel like it was more difficult to get that help back then? Like it just wasn't as widely accessible as it is now.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, nowadays there are a lot of resources. Not only can you find a therapist relatively easily, I hope, but they also have online services now. Like there's BetterHelp that I can think of off the top of my head. You have to pay a certain amount, and then you'll get access to a therapist. You'll be able to do like weekly video sessions, but you can also like text them 24/7 and this and that, and so I thought that was pretty cool that they're really trying to normalize all this.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you remember, from band, my fellow flautist Megan Martinez, she's also a therapist.
Flautas?
Flautist. That's
Is
what
that
a
really
flute
what it's
player is
called?
called. A flautist.
That's another thing too. Was I think that kind of attributed to my condition in high school was I never felt like I fit in anywhere.
Yeah,
I was a little envious of you because it seemed like you were able to eventually find like the crew that you fit in with. But even though I was in band, I felt like I never really fit in with the band geeks either. I was
it's
like, man,
funny that
if I can't even fit in here, then I can't fit in anywhere.
if you can't fit in with all these nerds, it's funny that you say that, because despite what you think, I didn't feel like I fit in with them either. I mean, I know I had friends and stuff, but I didn't keep in touch with any of them after high school.
I was jumping around different schools. Like I was trying out the online school, and I went to continuation school and all that stuff. And then
Yeah.
eventually, I gave up and I dropped out.
Well, you've come so far since then.
Look at me now. I'm famous. I'm doing a movie
I
podcast.
would I would say I know. Totally.
Maybe at some point we'll move into that Donnie Darko house.
Oh my gosh.
Even though like I wasn't even like a huge fan of the movie or anything like that. I'm just like,
But
yeah, I
but
need
you're
to
a
move
huge
into
fan of
this
the
house.
house.
The house, yeah. I'm in the
That
house.
was
It's
your
gorgeous.
favorite character. It's a pretty house. It's a great house.
Trying to bring this back because that was a little bit of a therapy session there.
I know, right?
So
And a little
bringing it
segue.
back and trying to liven it up a bit. What did you think of the only Asian character in this movie?
Oh my gosh. What were they trying to do? And it's funny because like I feel like she didn't even look that Asian in the movie, but she totally is. She's super Asian. And as a matter of fact, I think she's part Japanese, if not, more
Is
than
she?
part. Yeah, because her middle name is Aiko, which is a Japanese name.
Dude, it was that Chut Up scene had me rolling. I was like, what the fuck
It
was that?
had me cringing. Like she speaks relatively normally otherwise, but then they have her saying that, and I'm just like,
I've
way
never heard
to
that ever in my
stereotype.
life.
I know, and I feel like they're
Chut
just trying
Up.
to like. I feel like they're just trying to. I feel like they're trying to stereotype, and they were doing it terribly. You know what I mean?
Dude, that was a pretty terrible attempt at depicting an Asian accent. Like
Hmm.
I don't know like where they may have thought they heard that term, but like anyone with an accent I've never heard chut up.
I know.
That was
And that
freaking
was the only thing
hilarious.
she said with an accent. I mean, I think she had a little bit of an accent otherwise, but she still spoke normally. You know?
And she says it again. That's like her catchphrase. She says it
Hmm.
again later on in the film, right? Like doesn't
Oh yeah,
like
several
Donnie like take
times.
her headphones or something and she's like, "Shut up," and she like runs away.
Oh yeah, he's like holding her face, and he's like, "It'll get better."
Oh man, that was so funny. And now that I think about it, this was a pretty much entirely Caucasian movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was supposed to be the diversity, I guess, and it was.
Yeah,
It
she
was.
was the token like Asian person.
I mean, as much as I like the movie, that was terribly done. I did have a kind of related question though, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering if you thought it held up.
All in all, yeah, it was a solid film. Like I've said that before already, but I felt like despite little minor details like that, and like of course that depiction of that random like Asian character, which I felt like she was kind of pointless. Like other than to just be a token Asian person,
I
she
know.
didn't even need to really be in the film. But yeah, that Chut Up scene was iconic.
Oh lordy.
And of course the CGI that was pretty bad with like the little bubbles coming out of people's chests or whatever, like their
Yeah.
path. That was pretty bad, but all in all, because of the fact that they didn't rely on CGI for most of the movie, I think it
Hmm.
held up. I think it held up pretty well. For those people that are like really into it and they love the film and the storyline and all that, I could definitely see them going back to watch it like every year or maybe every couple years or something, like just revisit it.
Like I felt like does it hold up? Yes and no to me.
Hmm.
Again, like we said, some of the cringy parts like that, or miss some of the plot points that were kind of iffy on making sense and stuff like that. But I feel like it captured that the teen angst and the teen problems pretty well. I feel like
Hmm.
those are pretty timeless. Like regardless of what decade you're living in or coming from, you had those problems when you were a teenager.
Yeah, like I guess the quote unquote bitchy moments for Elizabeth Darko. Well, at the dinner scene, I felt like that was justified because they're talking about like getting pregnant, or whatever, right? And then Samantha's like, "When can I get pregnant?" Or I forgot what exactly how she phrased it, but Donnie was like, not until eighth grade or whatever. And then
Oh yeah,
she's like, Donnie, what the fuck? That was justified. And I don't think that was her being bitchy at all. That was just like, don't fucking put these thoughts in her mind.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
still,
totally.
she's still
She's
like
still
young and
little.
she might actually take that to heart.
Yeah,
And then look how she
Donnie
turned
was
out in
just being a
Estarco.
little dick.
She's
Yeah,
a fucking mess in Estarco,
pretty much.
apparently. Yeah, like I think there was like another moment where she kind of butts heads with Donnie, but it was very brief. I don't think she was ever really like that bitchy. She wasn't like a bully to him.
I feel like she was kind of the only one that called him out on his bullshit
His shit,
sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like the mom, I think, would kind of like have like an uncomfortable look, and the dad just straight up didn't care at all. Like he didn't give a
yeah,
shit. I felt like the parents could have also played a role. Like they could have done more to help him. Like the mom was, she was basically
I feel like
forcing
it
him to
should.
go to
The
therapy
mom,
sessions,
the
but
mom was like trying to maintain their image, and the dad. What was it when he called out Jim Cunningham or told the gym teacher to shove the book up her ass or whatever, and,
yeah,
and the dad was laughing.
dude, he was just like, that was great.
Exactly how does one suck a fuck?
Suck a fuck. I mean that was his comeback, right? Like she was giving him
Yeah.
shit, and he said, "You can go suck a fuck."
No, she said that, and he said exactly how does one suck a fuck, Elizabeth.
Was that her? I thought she was making fun of him. She was like, "Really? Like who the fuck says that?"
No, she totally said it.
That was funny. If you ever seen that show Silicon Valley, the main character guy, he's like really super awkward and he just like says weird shit
Random
sometimes.
stuff like
And
that.
one of the things he said was "kiss my piss."
At least it rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna
So I
use
thought
that.
so. You definitely have to mention the house burning down, right? The arsonist
Oh
moment,
my goodness.
because that was Patrick Swayze's character, right? Jim Cunningham, and so
Yes.
Donnie, controlled by Frank, he ends up burning down the house, and what does that end up revealing?
An apparent kiddie porn dungeon, which it seems implied that he had the space set up to film kitty porn, actually. So
Interesting.
it was worse than
Wow.
just having a collection.
Right, right. Like he was actually like producing it.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. That's what seemed to be implied, if I recall correctly. So yeah, it was a lot worse than him just having an extensive collection. He was actually involved.
And how you're saying, like, does that have any effect on this whole like supposed doomsday, or was that just like Frank? You know what? Since we're here and I'm like manipulating time and all that stuff, like I might as well just out this guy for his kitty porn.
It was just helping the community, sort of thing, and completely outing this horrible, horrible person.
What'd you think of Drew Barrymore as a teacher? Because I thought she was kind of a bad teacher.
I thought she was okay. I mean, I feel like she's like typical Drew Barrymore.
What was that whole thing when like Gretchen, she's like the new student, she comes in, she's like, yeah, they sent me to the wrong class, and she said, sit down next to the guy that you're most attracted to.
Yeah, the guy that you think is cutest.
She like straight up put her on blast. I was like, what the fuck is that? First off, like, in this day and age, that wouldn't fly because it's like she's assuming her sexual orientation.
Yeah,
Straight up putting her on blast and like saying like now whoever she sits next to, they're gonna be like, ooh, look at those two, starting some
exactly.
rumors.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that would have flown more back then, did things for their own reasons rather than to prove any sort of point or whatever, like punishment sort of things. They just play favorites and that sort of thing.
And she definitely didn't like that one student because she was like fucking annoyed by that student, and she straight up kicked her out of her chair so that way Gretchen can sit down next to Donnie.
I don't think she had any particular feelings towards any particular student, but I do feel like she was always trying to be meaningful. She was that like English teacher that was always trying to make some sort of deeper point, and so I feel like it was one of those moves.
Oh, interesting. And then eventually she gets fired because I guess she's just not doing a good job or something.
Well, I kind of took it as she was more progressive than the other teachers. Like she wasn't fitting inside that conservative, suburban Middlesex, Virginia bubble. And, she was, having them read these stories with controversy. And I feel like she was just creating too much controversy. And so they're just trying to get rid of her for that. You know what I mean?
And then when she left, she left some words on the chalkboard. So Donnie was like in class,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What the hell is this?" Like she just wrote "Cellar Door" on the whiteboard or on the blackboard.
Yeah.
And her explanation was that she heard that those were considered the most beautiful words,
Some
that was
linguists
like a
said
beautiful
that. And
term.
I
Yeah,
have heard that. I have actually heard that.
cellar door,
So
really?
that's a real thing, yeah.
Huh.
Someone's decided that, at least to them, cellar door was the most beautiful phrase or whatever.
And they actually work that into the plot because later on in the film, the
He finds the
Darkos
cellar door.
have to celebrate Elizabeth getting into, was it Harvard?
Yeah, they have the party.
They have this like huge house party, which I didn't even know the Darkos were like popular enough to even have that many friends show up
Right.
to their house party.
I think it was Elizabeth's doing.
Yeah, maybe she was more popular. And Gretchen, by this point, she was dating Donnie. She comes over and says, hey, I'm scared, like my mom's missing, and I think it's my stepdad, my violent stepdad. And then after she reveals that, they like have sex.
That's what's implied, and yeah, but I feel like
What
the
the
whole
fuck?
her problematic childhood, and it doesn't really drive any of the plot. That's what I was saying. Like a couple of things in the plot that were weird, but that's one of the things where it's just like they have this character, they have her background, but it doesn't do anything for the plot except send her over to his house during the party, which she was probably invited to anyway.
So instead of like trying to look for her mom who could potentially be murdered, she was like, I'm just gonna have sex with this boy I like. Okay.
Yeah, in the height of her emotions, and then promptly get killed afterwards.
Yeah. So then that's where the cellar door comes in, because that's when Donnie kind of puts two and two together, and he's like, oh, maybe they want me to go to that old lady's house, that the one that's almost always getting ran over every single day to check her mail, which I don't know why her mailbox is across the street. Why does she need to cross the street to check her mail?
Yeah.
But he like goes to her house and checks the cellar door, and when they go inside, apparently the bullies are like robbing her at the same time for whatever reason. Like they feel like she might have something valuable. So this is what I thought was kind of comical. So Seth's friend, his character's name is actually Seth.
Seth, yeah.
So it's Seth and Seth. They basically they like jump him, beat him up or whatever. Seth Rogen is the one that's responsible for killing Gretchen, right? because he like throws her into the middle of the street, and she's like, the wind gets knocked out of her, and then they like run off. She gets run over by a car because that car almost runs the lady over, diverts out of the way, and like runs over Gretchen, who's still on the ground, and like
Yeah.
he would have never been able to even see her.
Exactly.
And then that's where it's revealed that Frank is driving the car, the one that's been like leading him
Frank.
during his sleepwalk sessions.
And it's funny because Andrew watched it with me, and he was arguing that it wasn't Frank's fault, and I disagreed because if Frank was driving under the influence, and maybe he was driving a little too fast in a residential area, I don't know, but sure. he killed her.
He did. He actually was the one to like physically kill her, but I would almost feel like I would blame Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen's fault.
Because like if he didn't like throw her on the ground and like knock the wind out of her, she wouldn't have even been in the way.
Yeah.
But it's like all that happened, for a reason, and that was like Gretchen was supposed to die.
Yeah, and Donnie, in the height of his emotion, kills Frank with the gun that his chest path led him to in his parents' room.
He's somehow like found where they were hiding the gun, which wasn't even locked. It was just in like a little box.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me wonder too, because he can see the chest path and this and that. And like I said, I was wondering if it was, a product of his mental issues or if it was something that he was actually seeing on his verge of death or whatever, his heightened senses or something. But I'm thinking, like it looks like it's implied that he didn't know the gun was there, and his chest path led him to the gun.
That's what I got too, yeah.
However, I'm like, as a kid, every kid like digs through all their parents' stuff, everything they could find as a kid.
It was like hidden on the ground. It wasn't even like up out of the way.
Especially how not hidden it was. I feel like he probably already knew it was there. You know what I mean?
Oh, interesting. You think so?
I feel. I mean, obviously that's not implied in the movie or anything at all. But like, seriously, every kid goes through their parents' stuff at some point, and that gun was not hidden anywhere. It was just on the ground in a box, and so he probably knew it was already there.
Interesting, and that's also irresponsible by the parents.
I know, 80s. I don't know.
So now Donnie's like he's distraught. Gretchen's dead, and his first thought is to drive her to like a lookout point. Oh, also shout out to that little bowl where they keep the car keys at Donnie's house, because there's a Blockbuster card in the background. Blockbuster membership card.
They keep it in the bowl of keys. Yeah.
But yeah, he like takes her body instead of like
he actually carries her home. He carries her home and then puts her in the car.
Then his first instinct is to grab his parents' car keys.
He sees the portal kind of starting to form over his house.
Oh, there's like a vortex over the house. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he puts her in the car and drives off and kind of looks at the whole thing from a distance. Actually sees the plane fly through it and lose its engine.
So what was the point? Like, what was he hoping to accomplish? By this point, was the whole like time travel thing already in effect? Like, did he know? Did he have to like drive to that lookout point to trigger it?
I don't think he knew he was supposed to drive. I think he knew his time was up. He didn't know what was going to happen, but he saw something happening, and so he's like, I'm just going to come over here and watch the world end with my dead girlfriend.
Oh, so he wasn't sure what exactly was going to happen. You know what? This is my favorite spot in this town, and I'm with my favorite person. Yeah. So if I'm gonna die, just let it be like this.
Yeah, because he didn't know how the world wasn't going to end.
Okay.
Quote unquote. He was just told that the world was going to end, and he knew the time was up, and that was why he started freaking out at the party, and he had to go to Roberta Sparrow's house.
He felt like he needed to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, because he knew the time was the clock was ticking, time was running out, and so yeah, I think he was just just at the end he was just I have nothing left right now, like probably how he felt, whether it was true or not, and he's like, I'm just gonna come over here and watch the world burn, however it's gonna go down.
The wormhole was gonna happen either way. Like, I don't know what exactly he did. The only thing that really needed to happen was he was gonna burn down that pedophile's house, so that way he can get arrested. That teacher would then like testify at the trial, so she couldn't take the dance troupe, the Sparkle Motion, right?
Oh my God.
That Samantha Darko was in. They couldn't go to LA to compete, so then Donnie's mom had to fly with Samantha. So then on their way back into town, they actually go through that wormhole funnel thing above their house, and it rips off the engine, and it gets sent back in time, and that's what triggers the time travel?
I suppose so. My question is, how the heck did Donnie end up back there? Because he wasn't anywhere near it, because he was in the car looking at it from a distance.
And on top of that, when if it went back in time and had the same events happen, he would have been sleepwalking. But like now, miraculously, he's like in his bed and
Well,
he's like
actually,
aware.
I think because maybe like that time's version of him was actually out there sleepwalking. Maybe not because
Or maybe that was
yeah,
before he
because then he
slept.
wouldn't have died. Yeah,
Before
I
he
guess it must have been
sleepwalked.
before he sleepwalked, but he was still
Oh,
aware.
okay.
Like he however he ends up in the vortex and time travels back into his bed. He
Hmm.
was lying there laughing because he knew what happened, and I think he realized at that point, like, oh, this is what the world ending is. I'm going to die right now.
Interesting. That's why I wasn't sure if either was like when with the whole world ending thing. My question was, do you think that the end of the
Mhm.
world was actually the whole world, or do you think the end of the world was Donnie's world? Because
Just Donnie.
I wasn't quite sure if like maybe Donnie needed to die. Otherwise, if he had lived from that jet engine falling down, then like the rest of the world would have come to an end somehow. Like it would have been some strange butterfly effect.
Yeah, I feel like it was not that big. Like I feel like it was. That's why I question whether this was all just in his head because it seemed very centered on him and just his life. You know what I mean? And it's not like he was a super influential piece of the world. You know what I mean? He's just like another.
And yet it seemed like he had some sort of significant effect on other characters in the film because they do like this montage of like after Donnie's death, people are
Yeah,
like
everybody
living their
just kind of
normal
wakes
lives
up.
and everything's fine.
It has all the people that he did affect during that 28 days that he would have lived, kind of waking up. Like what the heck, you know?
Yeah.
They just kind of feel something. They feel something and they all wake up, or they maybe they're already awake. I don't know, but he did have a little bit of impact on his community, and obviously with him dying, that impact is gone,
Is negated,
and
yeah.
so
So
maybe Jim Cunningham will never be outed, and he can go on with his horrible ways and whatnot, which is probably the biggest thing because everything else was kind of just for him, like him breaking. Well, if I'm right, like him breaking the water main in the school was just for him to start a relationship with
with Gretchen,
Gretchen, and obviously, oh yeah, Jim Cunningham won't get outed, but also Frank and Gretchen will both live,
that's true.
and so his impact was just on a few people, not necessarily the whole wide world. I feel like it was, the all of it was just about him.
Yeah.
And to him he's probably pretty significant, so it's a big deal, but to the rest of the world at large,
I'm kind of a big deal to myself.
right. So yeah, like to the rest of the world at large, I think it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. Like I don't think the whole world is ending just because he lived.
Well, when he went back in time and he kind of found out what the date was and what time it was and how everything was rewound and he started laughing, do you think that his joy was that Gretchen would be alive again, or do you think like he wanted to die? Do you think
I
he
don't
knew
feel
he was going to
like
die?
I feel like it was like an ironic humor kind of thing. Like he was just like, "Oh, this is what it all meant," and he's kind of hysterically laughing from that. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay.
Like he comes to realize, like, "Oh, the world is ending. My world is ending. Holy crap! This was it. This was all of it all along."
He's like, that was it. It's just like me dying.
Yeah,
And you know what? In a way, I felt like he was fine with that. He was like, well, if I have to
yeah. I think
die
he
in
was
order
too.
for
Yeah.
Gretchen to live, then I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yes, I agree with that.
That is a wrap, folks. If you made it to the end of our podcast, then you are now an honorary member of Sparkle Motion.
Oh, yay!
Now, don't make us doubt your commitment to Sparkle Motion. All right. Any final thoughts or closing comments?
It's interesting, yeah, because that was a movie that I feel like kind of defined my teenagehood in a sense, and it was fun to revisit it. Find out what I, as a full grown adult, see what I liked and disliked about it now. So that was a fun experience.
Yeah, definitely. And even the very end of Donnie Darko was pretty cool because you got the sense that Gretchen, when she does that weird, like awkward, like wave to the mom, because she's talking to the neighbor across the street first, and he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Donnie got killed, like some engine fell out of the sky or whatever, and he's
Uh
like, did
huh.
you know Donnie? And she's like, no, I didn't know Donnie. And then she like does that awkward wave to the mom, and you kind of get the sense that like they feel like
They like
there's like some deja
vaguely,
vu. They're
yeah,
like,
they
do we know
they
each other? Like, I don't know.
exactly.
So in another timeline, they would have known each other.
Maybe they'll expand on that in the supposed sequel that Richard Kelly is working on. go more into the mechanics of all the time travel, the science fiction and stuff, you know.
As of 2017, I think that's the last update that I saw. Richard Kelly was saying that he had ideas for a bigger and more ambitious true sequel to Donnie Darko.
Yeah, I did see that, and nothing's come out of that so far. But I did see something from like last month talking about the theatrical re-release or something. So
Oh shit! Maybe he might add a little something, a little extra.
yeah, maybe we'll get like an end credit scene or something like that.
Overall, I felt like it was somewhat similar to the movie The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher, but I don't know. In my opinion, I felt
On
like
a smaller scale, though, you know what I mean?
smaller scale.
Because I feel like
Yeah,
in Butterfly Effect, he kept going through it over and over to try and fix his mistakes, and it just became bigger and bigger and bigger. But with Donnie Darko, it's kind of just this one thing.
one thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
I did feel like Butterfly Effect was less confusing, more impactful, and in my opinion, had a better ending. But not to take away from Donnie, like I can see why
yeah,
a lot of people enjoyed Donnie Darko, and yeah, it was a good film. I liked it. I enjoyed
yeah. Probably not the best film in the world, but
it.
you can see why it has a cult following.
Yeah, I could see it. Everyone has their own tastes, and everyone enjoyed. It seems like a lot of people enjoyed Donnie Darko. So yeah,
Yep.
this has been Afflixionados podcast, episode 8, Donnie Darko. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.